We have in-depth coverage now of today's death sentence for Boston Marathon bomber Johar Tsarnaev. Joining us now live in studio is Eyewitness News legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney for Rhode Island, Robert Corrente. Robert, thank you for coming. This was a very emotional period for the jury. The death of the youngest victim, 8-year-old Martin Richard. Was this considered an aggravating factor?
Well, in going through the aggravating and mitigating factors, the jurors were asked to look at the nature of the victims and the nature of the act itself, the bombing, and they had to sit through some incredibly gruesome testimony in photographs and videos.
You know, the jury saw no remorse. He never showed emotion. He flipped off the camera while he was in jail. Would that have played a different role if he showed some type of sympathy?
It certainly would have. One of the factors that the jurors expressly weighed in on was they found, or most of them found, that he had shown no remorse whatsoever, and so that was one of the factors they had to take into account.
Now, the defense sought to save Tsarnaev's life by really pinning most of this blame on his radicalized older brother. Prosecutors portrayed Tsarnaev as an equal partner in the attack. Your thoughts on that strategy, on the whole thing?
It might have been all they had. If you think back to how all this went down, it was not just the act itself, it was not just the placement of the bomb, which was horrific in and of itself, but then it played out over a 2 or 3 day period where Johar was actively involved in the carjacking and the shooting and a lot of other things. Pretty hard for him to say that he was sort of lulled into that one single act by his brother.
You know, we saw this in Hernandez's case. He didn't take the stand. Should Johar Tsarnaev have taken the stand in this trial?
I don't think so. There was very little that he could have said in his own defense. I think he had to hope that, you know, by staying in the background and allowing his lawyers to focus on the brother or focus on anything else they could think of, maybe the jurors would take into account that he was 19 at the time, but the strategy obviously didn't work.
All right. As a former U.S. attorney, Robert is very familiar with the process and what is coming up next. We'll have more on that coming up on Eyewitness News at 6:30 over on Fox Providence.